Hello everybody, my name is Daniel and welcome to my art YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be painting a landscape. This is a landscape painting of part of my local area. I've been doing a series of these paintings recently. So here's a couple of images of the last few that I've been doing with the reference image. The photographs that I have taken are purely just for reference. So this is a series that I want to start doing on my channel, painting places from my local area. Now the first step to painting any picture is the setup. I've got my easel set up here. I've got, you can't see it, but there's a big cloth on the ground to stop paint from getting on the ground. And over here I've got all of my paints and brushes and everything laid out on the table there. So let's start this painting. And once again, I'm going to put an image up on the screen of the exact landscape that I will be painting. And you must remember, I'm going from memory here. It's a photograph I took yesterday. And all of these places that I've shown you are places that me and my friends used to hang out when we were kids. So that's the vibe I'm going for. That's the series that I want to create. So in this image, there's a lot of grey sky at the top. And for grey is easy. It's black and white. Makes grey. You know? And I'm just gonna... So we've got a bit of black and white on my palette. And I'm just going to use 1.5 inch brush. Dip it in the water because I'm using acrylic paint, not oil paint. I would like to use oil paint soon, but the thing is, with oil paint you need an odorless thinner, otherwise you're gonna be breathing in fumes. Some people might think the fumes smell nice, but I don't like them, so I'm just gonna use acrylic for now. I like to layer my paintings, so don't be scared. I'm just going to stick a bit of grey on there, and you might think, well, that's a bit dark. It looks dark, but we can always add a bit of white. The sky is never just one colour, really, is it? It's multiple colours. So we're just going to chuck a bit of grey on there, because we can add details like clouds and things like that in later. So we'll have a bit of grey. I'm going to need a little bit more white. I want to brighten that up a bit and sort of blend it in. This is titanium white, as they call it, but it's just white, to be honest. It's not a special colour of white. Anyways, let's just mix this white in here on my palette. We want it nice and thick, blended on the canvas there. Of course, this is Wales, and it is winter time here. So when I took this photo, it was a horrible grey sky out. You don't have to paint it grey. You can make it whatever colour you want, really. You know, whatever type of painting you're doing, you can that's the beauty of art. You can make it whatever you want, really. So we're just going to blend all of this together and cover a good, I'd say, half of this canvas. Maybe more. Just going to get a little bit of water and just going to, when you get the brush a bit wetter, you get the colours back on there a bit more. So we're just going to blend some more colours together on my palette, some more white. Make sure it's not too dark. We don't want it to be too dark. But if it does turn out dark, that's fine. We can just chuck some white on there and blend it in. Because we've just started this painting. We ain't gonna go wrong with this. Just give my brush a quick wash, and I use this type of sponge just to dry it. It's just from an old mattress. It's just to dry the brush off a bit, because sometimes if the brush is too wet, you get runs and it can mess up your painting a little bit. So we're just using a little bit of water and drying it on that sponge. We want to try and not have, streaks and stuff on there. I'm going to stick a bit more white. Just to blend it in with the rest of it. You can use a bigger brush if you want, but I'm just using it says 1.5 inch brush. And this is a newer brush. I have bigger brushes, but they're a little bit old and they might leave like stripes. So you see these streaks, sometimes we get little streaks. That's when you just need to be a little bit lighter to get rid of the streaks. And as the paint dries, the streaks will go away eventually as well. I'm just gonna add a bit more white in there, blend it in. I'm hardly even touching the canvas. I'm just lightly going over. As we go further down, we want it to get lighter and lighter. That's why I'm using more and more white. Once again, you don't have to make it grey. It's just grey because we're in Wales, And I'm just lightly touching the canvas, getting all of those streaks out. We want it lighter at the bottom, because obviously we're going to have a different sort of, we're going to have grass and other things going on here, so we don't want it to be too dark. I'm just going to wet my brush a little bit, dry it, just get a little bit wet, not too much, just to... Actually, I've decided, and this is a thing that artists have, I like to call it like an artist's instinct. I'm just going to cover the whole canvas with this grey paint. Because like I said, I like to paint in layers. Now the only thing with acrylic paint is, and I'm sure this is the same with oil paint, is once I've done this, you can paint on top of it, but you just got to be careful. I'm going to leave it to dry, because I don't like painting on paint, if you get me. I'm going to leave it to dry. Yeah, let's just blend all of this grey in all the way down. just lightly touching the canvas to get rid of those streaks, you know. But a sky is not always all one colour, it's not all one shape, it all flows, really. So there we are. So there is our grey sky. And again, this is like, I like to call it an artist instinct. You just know when to stop. I don't know. You just know when it's enough. You know when you've done enough. You put enough paint on that canvas. So I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna let this dry, and then we'll put the next bit of layering on. So now my background is complete and it is dry. And whilst it dries, you can go and clean your brushes, clean your palette off, stuff like that, and just sit down, have a cup of tea, whatever. Acrylic paint dries very quickly, so you won't be waiting long for this to dry. And now, like I said before, setup is perfect. Setting up your easel, the cloth on the ground to stop the paint, your paints, your colours, everything is very important, because you're going to want to know where everything is when you need, as and when you need it, right? So now my canvas is nice and dry, and I've got the nice grey coloured sky and background. This is the first layer of my painting, really, because like I said before, I like to paint in layers. It's the easiest sort of way to paint. Let me just grab one of my other paintings to show you as an example. Not just a photo of it, but on the camera. So, as you can see, blue is the first layer here. Then I painted the river here, the rocks in the background, the grass, the bushes, and then the trees and the bridge, the detailed parts are the next bits to be painted. Because, and I covered the whole painting in blue, just like I've covered this one in grey. And that's for a very good reason. It's because painting on a white blank canvas, trying to do detailed bits and stuff, for me is intimidating. I don't like just painting on a blade white canvas, you know. So now that the background is done and it's dry, we've cleaned our brushes, we've cleaned our palette while it dried. We can now put some colour on there. Do any of the details quite yet. We don't need to at this stage. We just want to get a bit of colour on that canvas, okay? So I'm going to grab some green. I ain't going to mix it with nothing. I want quite a dark green going onto this canvas. Just at the bottom of the canvas here. But I'm just going to paint the grass. Now, this easel I've got, it can be a bit awkward with these two bits down here. Sometimes you might have to lift the painting up a little bit, or you might have to go a little bit sideways with the brush. And just another thing about the background is I've painted this all on quite thick. If your brushes are wet, what will happen is whatever is behind it, so for the background, all the white, the canvas, you'll get all streaks. And you don't want that. So whenever you do clean the brush and you do get a bit of water on there, you want to make sure that that paint is thick on that brush, because what happens is, as you can see here, the canvas, the background, it is coming through because it's too wet and the paint is not thick enough, and we don't want that. The nice thing about acrylic and also painting in layers like this is, if you make a mistake or something, let's say you've gone too far over with your grass or water or whatever you're painting, it's so easy to paint over it. It's so easy with acrylic to paint over it. My last painting that I just showed you just now, I made many mistakes with that painting along the way, you know? There was a lot of trial and error. I am a new artist. I haven't been doing this for very long, so, you know, I'm not as clued up as some artists maybe, but I've come to realize that it's very easy to make mistakes, but it's also very easy to cover those mistakes up. To not just cover them, but fix them. You know, it's very important to remember, this paint, it works for you. The way that you want it to be. So I've probably gone way too far over with this grass, because it kind of falls off at the end here, but that doesn't matter. Like I said, we're just painting in layers. You know? So it doesn't matter if you think I've gone too far, I put too much. We can paint over that with different colours. Because acrylic paint dries quite quickly. Like, I haven't painted much with oil paint yet, but I believe that oil paint takes a lot longer to dry. What they call touch dry. When you touch the canvas, it's dry. So we want like a decently straight line. Again, because we're painting in layers, you see sometimes you get, because it's canvas, it's textured, you get bits of green paint up, and maybe you don't want it there, but it doesn't matter, because like I said, we're painting in layers, and we can paint over that and fix that later on. And sometimes your background might take you hours to do. You know, this grey background took me quite a while. So we've got our grass. We're just going to leave like that. We're not going to add any detail. We're just going to know that's the foreground. That's the what's in front of us, like, you know. Now this is probably quite a more complex painting that I've chosen to do here. So it's going to take some time to layer on all of these details and everything. So the tree line, it comes up to about here. Yeah. So most of the sky is going to be here, and then our tree line and everything, and the bushes and everything else is going to be here. Then our river's going to come across here. Okay, so what I can do, I'm going to make a bit of a lighter green, which is easily done. So I'm going to mix some green and yellow together to make a bit of a lighter green. And we're just going to create the layers that we want for this painting. You don't have to do it that way. Again, art, what I love about art is you can do it any way you want. You can paint it any way you want. This is just what I'm good with. So again, I'm just going to stick a bit of yellow. Let's just lighten this green up a bit, because it's not that dark on the photo. Again, obviously I'm just using the photo for a reference. Our land is going to come across here. That's gonna be great there, just like that. Okay, again, layers. So we're just going to layer this light green paint on, because this is just our background. We're not going for any sort of details yet. You know, we're just going for the layers. I'm just gonna paint that little bit of land in the background, that little bit of a river bank, because our river is going to be flowing through the middle of the page here. So that's where our river bank is going to go. I'm going to get a bit more yellow, stick that on our palette here, and just layer that paint on, all on top of each other. We want quite a light sort of colour. And if you find out that my paint is running out quite quickly, it's becoming quite thin, just stick a bit more yellow on it, wash your brush. Make sure to dry the brush though. We don't want any runs of yellow or green or whatever coming down the canvas. The best thing to do, I use these sponges and I just wrap sponge around the brush. So we're just gonna paint this riverbank. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can add details and shape and structure later. We just want that general riverbank. There, like that. Bring it across a little bit more, but not too much. Just like thin it out a little bit. Thin it out. That's our riverbank there. I could bring it out a little bit more. I'm looking at the photo, obviously just as a reference. And I'm thinking, why not? Let's bring this riverbank right out, all the way out to about there. Again, the artist instinct, it just kicks in. I just think, and I just somehow I know that's enough there. We want to leave that little bit of space there for a bit of a more rocky sort of background, be more detailed. So we won't be doing that yet. We're not going for any details yet. We just want those layers, because I can paint grass on top of this, rocks on top of it. I can paint grass and bushes and shrubs on top of this. My river can go here. I can paint all rocks, any way I want. So yeah, that's that riverbank. That comes over here. Then the background, we've got some bushes and we got some shrubs and things like that. So I'm gonna wash my brush and I'm gonna open this burnt sienna. So that burnt sienna on there. And I'm gonna wash my brush. I don't want it no more green on there, on the edge of that brush. And again, I'm gonna use this sponge, grab it and just dry it out. Take another look at this photo. Yeah, so that goes quite high there. We want to leave a little bit of sky, so that's going to come down there like that. So we're going to start around here and we're going to work our way down like that. Lay it on quite thick, because over the top of that again we'll put more detail in later. This is just a layer. This is just like a banking of that's covered in bushes and shrubs and things like that. So we're just gonna get that down there, blend that in nicely with riverbank, but we want it on thick. We don't want none of that grey coming through. We want it to be, you know, a good sort of banking. That's what we're looking for. We'll add the details in later. These are just the sort of layers that I'm going to want on this painting. A bit of black now. Make it a bit darker. That's a lot of black, but it doesn't matter. We can just mix that in. And just over here a little bit, we can add some more all the way up to the edge of our riverbank. You think, ah, it's too dark, that's too much black. Beauty of painting is I can add some more burnt sienna over the top of that, hopefully make it a bit lighter, separate it from where you put the black. That's the thing with black, once you put black on it, that, you know, that's it, it's black, like it's dark. We want this side to be brighter than that side. This side is a lot darker, so that black in the background blends with the burnt sienna and makes it a bit darker. And maybe I put a little bit too much on there, but again, it doesn't matter. These are just our basic layers. And I can always extend this riverbank a bit more forward, like, because these are not our final details yet, and they'll come a lot later. So that's all of our bushes and shrubs and everything like that. We could add a touch of darkness in here and there, just to have a bit of more better blend of colours, like, you know. Doesn't always have to be all light, and also doesn't always have to be all dark. Now I've laid this paint on quite thick, so there we go, there's our layer. We'll add the details later. Just getting our general area of where all these bushes and shrubs are going to be. Now that's perfect. That's the colour I want. Some highlights here and there. Just dabbing that burnt sienna on quite thick. Thing is, we can detail that a lot better later on. This is just for now. Okay, I know you're thinking, ah, that's really thick. Don't worry about it. You can paint over it. It'll be fine. It'll actually create a very nice texture once the paint is dried when it's like that. That's what I noticed. When the paint is thick like this, when you paint over it, it creates a lovely texture of what you want. So I'm going to wash my brush again. I'm going to get some more yellow and some more green to make that light green. I'm going to bring this riverbank a little bit forward and mix my yellow and green together again. Maybe chuck a bit more yellow on there because I want that to be a bit brighter. And I'm going to mix all this together, and I'm just going to bring my riverbank forward a bit. make it a bit thicker, you know, make it a bit more. There we go. Again, I'm not going for any details, not yet. We just blend in these layers all together. And this paint looks very thick on you, but where these bushes are, but I'm telling you, when that dries, when we paint over that again, that's going to create I think that that's going to create a good texture. So let's just blend in those layers. And there is our riverbank, the start of our riverbank there. So as you can see, we've got the riverbank, we've got the shrubs, and where this is here, like I might have even gone too far now, but it's fine. We can paint over that little section there, yeah, to make it look like, because the river's kind of flowing and then it's going up here. So I can paint over that bit there easily, yeah. But for now, that's our layers. I only go in for basic layers, basic colours here, so that our river is going to start flowing this way. Still using the number 1 brush. Or I think a 1-inch brush. I think that's the depth of it, and we're just gonna paint our river colours, and it's flowing up here. We might need a bit more paint. I'm gonna use some brown, just some brown on its own actually, because brown and black and the burnt sienna mixed together, I think that'll make a nice colour for the Rhymney River. The Rhymney River is very orange, very dark water. It's not blue. Okay, it's very a dark, murky, brownish, orangish sort of colour, like, you know. So we're just gonna create and add those details on later. I'm going to add a little bit of burnt sienna to brighten this up. Mix all those colours together nicely, blend them in nicely. So what I'm doing is just kind of laying down the foundations of our painting. Where the water's going to be, because this area here, there's could be a bit of grass, and then it's kind of not like a cliff, but like an overhang, like there used to be a bridge there or something. So we're just kind of getting the foundation of our painting here. Of where we want things to be, and it'll make it a lot easier when you want to put those details in. You don't have to now plan out where you're going to put stuff. It's already there. Bushes, shrubs, trees, grass, you know, background, the riverbank, the rocks, it's all there. You know exactly where all of it is going to go. Or I know where all of it is going to go, you know. It might be different for you, but it's all depends on how you want to paint it. Some yellows, some browns, and that burnt sienna are all going to come and cover this very dark, very murky, very sort of brownish, yellowish sort of river. That is the Rhymney River. Because let's say now I painted a tree, you know, painted a tree, but now I want to put other details on there. I'm going to have to now paint around this tree to get what details I want on there, and it ain't going to be pretty. It ain't going to be what I want it to be. Blend them all in. Comes up here, goes this direction. Now, could probably I could probably use doing a bit of a bigger brush just to smooth this all together. A drier brush just to blend all of this together and also cover a bit more of the canvas a bit quicker. Not that I'm in a rush or anything. There we go. Get those bits and then we're going to bring it up. And we're just going to outline where we're going to stop. Well, not stop, but sort of falls off there, off the side of the canvas. And it goes up. This, maybe that's too far up, but it doesn't matter. Because again, when we put some details and stuff in, that bit will be covered by some trees or something, you know. So we just, there we are, and we'll just fill this in. We'll make it smaller as it goes along. It's perspective, you know. Again, it's just the layers. We're just making the basic shapes of the painting. That might be fine. I don't know. I haven't looked at the photo. Yeah, that'll be great. We can put some trees and stuff like that there in the distance. And some rocks around here. And there'll be no problem with that. There we are. Okay, those are our basic shapes that we want in this painting. We've got the riverbank, we've got the bit where I took the picture from, the bit I'm standing on, the I don't know, overhang or cliff or whatever you want to call it, is here. So we're going to make some, it kind of falls off here, so we can kind of paint over that and fix that up. But you've got the basics of it. We've got the foreground, the river flowing around up until the distance, the riverbank here, and we've got the bushes and shrubs. And in the background here, we'll do a lot of trees and stuff. The details will come later. So that's enough for me for now. I'm probably gonna cut the video here and then start it back up again. Maybe tomorrow or something, because I've done quite a bit of painting today and I'm gonna do some maybe later or tomorrow now.